Welcome back to Fridgestuck, where we discuss the allusions and references in Homestuck. Today we're discussing the bratty lordling who personifies the Homestuck haters who don't want people to have any fun. Caliborn. Caliborn's name has a few possible references attached to it. As discussed in the Jake English episode, the word Caliverie means skull. And of course, in universe, Caliborn's name hints at his inevitably being born from Cal. The weapon forged from the cue ball of the pendulum of his god-tier clock, Caliborn, is based on Excalibur, or as some translations call it, Caliburnus. There's also Caliban from Shakespeare's The Tempest, a character depicted as monstrous in appearance and rebellious in spirit. Caliban is also the name of a kind of dark green, and it is apparently a popular paint for Warhammer 40k models, specifically for Dark Angel figures. Funnily enough, one of the eccentric and irregular moons of Uranus is also named Caliban. The sign on Caliborn's shirt is the symbol of the Ophiuchus constellation. It's located on the ecliptic, like most of the constellations associated with the Western zodiac. Therefore, it's often alluded to as the unofficial 13th member of the zodiac. Wanting to include Ophiuchus in the zodiac is very popular in Japan, which might explain Caliborn's interest in manga. It shares the most space with Sagittarius, so Caliborn merging with Arqueus sprite was well hinted at far in advance. Ophiuchus has several interesting features within its constellation. Its brightest star, Rassel Hague, is actually a binary star, meaning that there's actually two small stars transiting and eclipsing each other. Another notable object is NGC 6240, a butterfly-shaped galaxy, which itself contains two supermassive black holes that are just chilling about 30,000 light-years from each other, slowly preparing to merge within each other in the next billion years. Called the Serpent Bearer, Ophiuchus is represented as a man grasping a giant snake. The Romans believed that the male figure represented the healer Asclepius, who learned the secrets of keeping death at bay after observing one serpent bring another healing herbs. To prevent the entire human race from becoming immortal under Asclepius's care, Jupiter, king of the gods, killed him with a bolt of lightning, but later replaced his image in the heavens to honor his good works. Coincidentally, Asclepius was the Greek god of medicine and doctors. He even had a cult involving snakes. And Asclepius's staff is seen as an alternate symbol to Ophiuchus. Caliborn's chum handle is Undying Umbrage. The Undying part of his chat name is no mystery, as it's a whole production and sideshow just to attempt killing him. Umbrage means offense or annoyance, since he's a misogynistic a-hole. But it can also mean shade or shadow, specifically of a tree, tying with his sister's chum handle of Umbra, the shadow of the moon. Coincidentally, with his original text color being 323232, the 23rd and 32nd elements on the periodic table of elements, vanadium and germanium, are both metallic gray in color. Like his alternate self Calliope, Caliborn's Strife Specibus has the problem sleuth object duality glitch. Caliborn's machine gun and staff are dark, overpowered versions of Calliope's magnum and wand, with unlimited ammo and a focus of might over magic. Though he does wave his sister's wand like a cartoonishly evil sorcerer, before getting serious and killing ghosts. I just have a few things to get off of my chest before we talk cherubs. Where did the jujus come from? Did the other cherubs make them? What is this portal originally made for? How can an asocial race have a shared culture? How would they even learn about their culture if their parent abandons them? How do you simultaneously have an exoskeleton and bulging muscles? Do they only have facial skin if it's needed to show emotion? The anatomy is driving me insane! Okay, I'm calm now. Cherubim, aka cherubs, start out on a steady diet of meat and candy, moving on to planets and solar energy as they reach adulthood. Which, considering that the cherub kids we see snack on special stardust, it means that they are indeed on their way to puberty. Though I think Caliborn was a bit slow on the idea of growing up. Cherubs naturally share two conflicting personalities per body, one male, one female. One side benevolent and associated with the colors of green and white, while the other is malevolent and associated with the opposing colors of red and black. When they reach maturation, one side will have eclipsed the other for control over the entire body, their swirling cheek filled completely and sprouting wings the same color as their tongues. Something Calliope and, surprisingly, Caliborn never obtain. According to Hussey in the comic, Caliborn is stuck as an ornery brat for all eternity because instead of choosing to cooperate with his sister in order to play the game, he decides to off her on Prospect, stunting his physical and emotional growth from then on. I guess that makes Lord English a literal man-child. Though, I guess from that logic, our Calliope might never emotionally mature any farther either. Cherubs stake claim to stretches of territory in space, in complete isolation. At least until mating, where the malevolent cherubs start wreaking havoc to get the attention of a benevolent of the opposite gender, in a display of black romance, the cherubs' only form of romance. Cherubs seek their literal other half when seeking a mate, attempting to fill the void their quote-unquote sibling left behind. So Caliborn having a crush on his despised sister after she's gone, but not really gone, makes sense for him, biologically speaking, which is also why Lord English goes about destroying everything Calliope held dear in the dream bubbles, the trolls and the kids, just to get her attention, which he ultimately did, but not in the way he expected. Caliborn and Calliope are the rare few to have an album fully dedicated to them, the Cherubim album. The Cherubim album has 11 songs, switching back and forth between the siblings until Caliborn wins, finishing the list with Eternity Served Cold by Malcolm Brown, the song originally used for soundpage Caliborn Enter. If you need a little bit more controversy with this song, Eternity Served Cold was originally named Eternity's Shylock. The term Shylock comes from the character Shylock from Shakespeare's The Merchant of Venice. Shylock was a money-hungry loan shark who demands a literal pound of his debtor's flesh as compensation for default upon a loan. He violently attacked other people and was a stereotypical Jewish merchant. Eternity's Shylock's title was changed to avoid controversy. But now I've dug it up again. First Skynet's backstory, and now this? This has gotten convicting. Let's talk about another song. Caliborn's song, The Lordling, has a possible canon laugh for the bratty cherub. If it sounds familiar to you, chances are you've played Undertale since, whoop, there it is, The Lordling was composed by Toby Fox. Caliborn also has a canon voice, since his Vine videos come with his own original sound effects. Continuing with his social media influence, Caliborn has a real DeviantArt account, where he posted his terrible fan art and OCs from the comic. Or I would say that, if not for the fact that Caliborn's winged human persona was actually based on the speculative fan art of Lord English by Naki Stillitz, essentially making their art canon 4 years later. Caliborn's art leaves much to be desired, but he might just show a mastery of coding instead. The way Caliborn draws his circles looks similar to how they would appear when coding in OpenGL, making circles out of polygons and pixels. Caliborn took part in a dead session of Spurb because he turned a 2-player game into a 1-player game. As such, he didn't receive a single planet. No. He got 15. One for each of the numbered felt members, reminiscent of the balls in billiards, especially when Caliborn skips the 8th planet, leaving it for last. Caliborn conquered the planets by befriending the felt, Naruto style, by beating them up and then sinking their planet into a black hole. This could be a reference to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, where the universe was once used to play pool. Completing this near-impossible task brings his home planet of post-death Earth back to life to create Lokam, or the Land of Colors and Mayhem. Being a dead session, there are no traditional exiles, so Caliborn gets Andrew Hussey. Hussey oversees Caliborn's player progress, but due to his commanding of the felt, Caliborn could also be considered an exile himself. Caliborn later reaches God tier, presumably self-assisted, and gained the skeleton key patch, taking over the narrative for Hussey, eventually or retroactively causing death of the author. Speaking of death, Caliborn's Cruxtruder flashes with a tilde and a capital letter U. This reflects Caliborn's symbol, but it also looks similar to the command in the till death code, specifically to the if-then code signaling Lord English's arrival at the death of the universe. Caliborn literally enters the story at the end of his universe. 111111 is the number of dubious significance that is related to the Alpha Earth Kids and the Cherubs. If you see a string of number 1s, you can bet it has something to do with the Alphas or the Cherubs. However, one of my favorite connections between 111111 and the Cherubs is Doctor Who. The famous Doctor merely looks like a human, but is actually an alien called a Time Lord, and he has been played by many UK-based actors over the show's 35-year run.
You are an alien. How come you sound like you're from the north?
Lots of planets have a north.
World's sharpest chin and my second favorite Doctor, Matt Smith, played the 11th Doctor, wielding his version of the sonic screwdriver and wearing his iteration's signature suspenders and bow tie.
Yeah, it's cool. Bow ties are cool.
The Doctor is also well known for traveling in a blue police box called the TARDIS, which is bigger on the inside and travels through time and space. Caliborn's Cairo overcoat is seen doing the same thing in Homestuck. Fun fact, the term Chicago overcoat is gangster slang for coffin. Naturally, the Cairo overcoat looks like a sarcophagus. Speaking of vessels, Doc Scratch was confirmed by Hussey on Formspring to be Lord English's puppet, while literally being English himself. He also highlighted that Little Cal was Lord English's weapon. Of course, connected to the puppet, Caliborn takes a lot of influence from the Saw franchise, notably with the villain Jigsaw. Caliborn sports the infamous red swirls on his cheeks, and declares that his victims play a game with him that may or may not include losing a limb or two. And essentially being a murder hobo trolling people through a screen and a creepy little puppet. Harkening back to the theme of everyone's pester chum handles being references to DNA, both the Cherub's UU titles represent uracil, the compound that replaces the T in DNA. So both Rose and Dirk better be wary not to get in contact with the Cherubs, lest they be fully replaced by Caliborn. So it seems fitting that out of all the alpha kids, Caliborn was closest to Dirk, probably because of Dirk's royal title of prince, and that he could destroy souls, something Lord English took an active interest in. Remember how Dirk said that he doubted he'd be destroying any souls unless he became a cartoonishly evil sorcerer? Of course, there were other reasons why Dirk and Caliborn are so closely linked. One fan asked Hussey a rather inconsequential question. Where did Bro's shades eventually end up? And Hussey stated, the shades obviously shattered when Maplehoof's corpse released the vast neigh, put on the Cairo overcoat, and became none other than Lord English himself. Another fan asked about Lord English's form, and Hussey responded, I defy you to picture a centaur wearing that coat and not be struck pleasantly by what you imagine. All hail Hussey, troll prince of foreshadowing! Caliborn is the Lord of Time, supposedly the only Lord player of all time. The active Lord class is also an all-male class. But who knows if that's canon anymore? As for powers, it's hinted that Lords command and conduct in a similar way to how a muse would, but more hands-on. Hussey stated on Forum Spring that Lord English conducts with a pool cue baton, referencing the duality of the cherubs. Caliborn tends to fit well in the scope of the time-bound player. The official Zodiac quiz describing them as strugglers who can't accept things as they come, that they value the destination over the journey and tend to take unconventional routes to get where they're going, being relentless problem solvers at best and ruthless, defensive, and impulsive at their worst. Hussey in the comics certainly knows this about Caliborn, hiding the Homestuck game cartridge in a vault that can only be opened through activating the caps lock. He believed that this would be the safest place because Caliborn never used caps lock, saying that it was training wheels for morons and little girls, resigning the cherub to type his quirk the hard way. I used to think that time represented death, since its opposite aspect, space, represents creation. But death does not cut it as a descriptor anymore. It's not a strong enough word for it. Time is destruction, straight oblivion. The fact that we learn about opposing aspects sharing elements at their core from Calliope is very fitting. Did you know that there's a goddess in the Hindu religion that fits the cherubs to a T? She personifies time and creation, destruction and power, dominating over her consort, but seen as a protector and mother of the universe. When she was in her peaceful form, she conducted the movement of the universe, but in her powerful form, with red eyes and lolling tongue, she dresses in skulls and fills the skies with her terrifying roars as she devours her foes. This goddess's name? Kali. The cherub's dual nature may also be connected to snakes in many cultures being connected to creation or destruction, depending on the mythology. And the last Fridgestuck fact for Caliborn is... in the real world, if you hear the word cherub, you probably think of the chubby little baby with a tiny pair of wings. Wrong! Cherubim originally appeared in the Bible as early as Genesis, and they are effing terrifying. Hulking giant human-like creatures with multiple sets of wings, a body covered in eyeballs, and sometimes 4 heads depicting a human, ox, lion, and eagle faces. This is what you could have had, people! In fact, it's alluded to in Ezekiel that Lucifer, the morning star himself, is a fallen cherub. And later on, it's revealed that the serpent that deceived Adam and Eve into disobeying God was also Satan. Satan is a title that means adversary or enemy, since he is opposed to all that God created. It's a bit of a nickname for him. Lucifer has several, like the devil, Mephistopheles, or as some places call him, Old Scratch. This explains a lot. Thank you guys so much for watching this Fridgestuck episode for Caliborn. I hope you enjoyed. Is there a fact I missed? Is there a character or concept that you'd like to see? Leave it down in the comments below and it might end up on the show someday. Be sure to give a like, comment, subscribe, share with a friend, and check out my Patreon. And I will see you all next time. Bye!
Hey there! I'm the lovable character from your favorite story.
Oh boy!
Yup.
It'd be a shame if someone were to write dark fan fiction about you.
What? Why? No.
No!
Oh, yeah.
No!
Hey, how have you been liking my, I'm just gonna, you know.
Hey there. Consider becoming a patron, just like the phenomenal Gerald Thomas, Bleed Red, and Alexander Madeline.